Okay. Well, those are words I never thought I'd hear said on this show.
Well, I never thought I'd have to live in a country where we had to tell somebody that wasn't right.
And now Katy Perry's Roar. Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestel.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our listeners. Paul Damien Bestel, it is the day of Eurovision. Is the opening?
Second semi-final.
There we go. Second semi-final. I did not know what was happening until I checked the local theater listings, and I saw it at 3 o'clock our time, and I thought, we're going to be recording late today.
But not too late.
No. Never a problem. Never, especially for Eurovision. I understand there's priorities and there's priorities.
I've seen the 16 entries for this semi-final. I've marked my scorecard. I'm happy with my decisions. And what will be, will be.
Now I have to know, any early predictions?
There isn't anything in this year's competition that I love. There's a couple I like, but there's nothing I love. So I think it's wide open. I'm not really sure what could happen. Apparently the Swedes are the cast iron favourites according to the bookies, which I can only assume there's a lot of Swedish people or the band themselves that have put money on. I do not understand how that song is the favourite at all, on any level.
Well, I speaking of things which are the favourites, and I think are a little suspect, I went to go see a double feature on Sunday. I went to go see Popeye the Slayer Man to close out Shock Stock, which is, of course, it is a what if Popeye was a slasher villain? It's in the same vein as the Winnie the Pooh films and the Steamboat Willie films. And then after that, I went to go see Clown in a Cornfield. And I got to tell you, Paul, and there's a lot of folks out there, Clown in a Cornfield, very popular book, very popular movie. It actually had a really good weekend. I would rather watch Popeye the Slayer Man. I was so bored by the Clown movie. I was pining back to earlier in the night when I was watching a man in a very obvious rubber suit pound the crap out of people while eating radioactive spinach. Sadly, that's one thing he didn't do. We got two different versions of I Am What I Am, but I don't think there was a single Maybe they left it open for a sequel, so maybe they're saving that for part two. Folks, yeah, it's not high art, but if you got a sense of humor, and if you can see it with a crowd like I did, who appreciate that you're allowed to laugh when when a bully has their arm ripped off and are beaten to death with it, then you'll have a good time.
I'm in.
And Clown in a Cornfield reviews are really, really good. So I think that I'm the lone dissenter here. It might even be I'm just out of that age bracket, right? Because it's very much pitched at sort of teens. So it may just be that I'm too old to enjoy it, but it was not for me. My money and my heart is with Popeye the Slayer Man.
Well, the thing about me is, you see, not only this shows the duality of me this week. Because not only is it Eurovision week, so I'm as camp as a row of tents, but I've also been watching Gone Girls, the Long Island serial killer miniseries on Netflix. I did not know they'd caught him. They got him in October.
Is that the one he was the Craigslist prostitute killer? Really? They got the guy? Oh, that's great.
So yes, it's been a week of light and shade.
I'll say. Well, we're going to throw some extra light onto that scale.
Huzzah.
Because we've got ourselves some listener mail.
Woohoo!
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
All right. So first up, we had a number of messages from people regarding your Goonies reference, the octopus scene. A lot of strong opinions on this one. As I understand it, it was not in the theatrical cut. It was cut for reasons of pacing, but it was reinserted for television versions to pad out the running time when they cut more objectionable content. And then apparently has also been included in some video releases as well.
See, this is the mystery that most people aren't aware of.
What's that?
Every territory you have different versions of films.
There is that too.
So what we see is often cut differently to what people in North America see, and usually they're different to what people in Asia see, and certainly different to what people in Australia see. The James Bond, The Spy Who Loved Me conundrum is one of those where some people saw the version where Jaws falls in love with the girl because she's got braces on, And therefore, because a lot of people hadn't seen that version or believed they'd seen that version, there was a big argument online about 5 years ago. And it turned out that they just stuck it in one cut that some people in some parts of the world saw.
Oh, fascinating.
Because I'd seen it, and I was convinced, because I know that's why they fall in love, because she's got braces, he's got metal teeth. Because otherwise it don't work.
Sure.
But apparently that version wasn't released in North America.
Oh, interesting. And see, I was going to mention The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Because when I talked to Nick about The Exorcist, she used to talk about the spider walk.
Yes.
And she said the spider walk always scared me. But in North America, the spider walk was not part of the cut until 2000 with the version you've never seen.
Yeah, it was cut out the UK version. Well, in Britain, The Exorcist was banned until 2000.
Yeah, it was a video nasty. So the only official release you guys ever got was the one Nick saw, was the one with the spider walk. But I remember I bought, because I'm a giant nerd, when it first came out on DVD back in, almost 20 years ago now. There's a commentary track on there with Billy Friedkin, and he talks about the spider walk, and you can see
what happened during this spider walk is I had enough of this shit. And he says to me, Bill, you're fucking crazy. And I said, I fucking know I am. That's why people pay me money.
Yeah, he's just ripping big fat lines.
Not that I've seen lots of interviews with Bill Friedkin.
No, I can tell. Because that's more or less what it sounded like. And so he basically said that he felt it was, I think it was Friedkin. He said it was a double climax.
Yeah.
So he cut it. He didn't want to have the news of Burke's death, then that. So there's always that optical fade at the end of the scene. And then, when they did the version you've never seen, which I think was the writer's preferred version, it had that cut back in. And actually, more recently, I went to go see Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. And it was a scene that a couple critics mentioned, where these two characters go for shawarma. And I was like, nope. No, they fucking didn't. But apparently that scene was cut for some territories. And so critics, these were U.S. critics, were talking about this scene in a film that I saw. I am literally 2 hours from the U.S. border. But I saw a shawarma-less version. But yeah, and honestly, I think a lot of this stuff, like when a lot of people talk about Mandela effect, I think this is what they're talking about. There are all these hyper-regional variations that people don't understand. Like this, it wasn't a monolith. It's like there's, and it drives me crazy that people automatically go to fucking dimensional rifts and not, maybe I just forgot, or maybe I remembered it poorly. Because there is a particular radio cut of We Are the Champions by Queen that it just ends in a certain way. And I remember hearing someone say, like, oh, well, it ends with We Are the Champions. And I think maybe the guy says, or Freddie says, of the world. But not every version has that. Instead of this person saying, oh, well, there are like a million different edits of this song. No, immediately they went to, CERN has ripped a hole in reality. And I mean, guys, you're fucking killing me here.
Yeah, I think the other aspect of it is arrogance as well, that some people believe themselves to be infallible.
Oh, 100% it is. Yeah, absolutely. It's not that, my mind's baked by weed and Fritos and never leaving the house for weeks at a time. Every day is exactly the same to me, but no, it's reality that is wrong. Yes,
absolutely. So, yeah, I remember once hearing an interview on a podcast about this, and the guy was just talking absolute shit. And that was his basic argument. I'm right, everybody else in the world's wrong. Mate, your memory's shit. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to tell you. Your memory's dreadful, because all the evidence, like pictures and letters and things that proved him wrong. No, it's all a conspiracy. And I just thought, now you're just trying to make yourself look edgy, and you don't. You're just a prick, being a dickhead. Shut up.
I will say that does worry me sometimes, because and this is maybe a broader discussion than we want to have on a ghost show, but I really do think we're kind of in this place right now where, like, truth is sort of irrelevant. What I feel and how I think it should have gone or how I think it should be kind of seems to be the order of the day. And I got to tell you, man, it scares the shit out of me, because it's like full-blown mental illness in some cases. You can show someone proof that they're incorrect, and it just does not matter. And yeah, it's alarming. First up is Collie Benjamin 5246 on YouTube. Collie says, "This has been such a shit week for me, but waking up to this just made my week so much better. Thank you guys so much for this podcast. I'm an autistic adult and I don't have very many friends, so this podcast and a few others always brings so much joy to my life." And thank you, Collie. And I'm happy as a very likely autistic adult myself. I understand, and I'm happy that we can bring you some relief, because I know what that's like, and it sucks. It can be very difficult for autistic people to make connections. And again, it seems increasingly likely that is the case for me, and it makes a lot of stuff make sense, including that. I was actually reading some stats a little while ago, and one of the leading causes of suicide among autistic people is social disconnection, loneliness, inability to form bonds. And certainly, like, again, I have no problem understanding that, because I'm pretty high functioning as far as these things go, but I just there are certain things that I've been told, kind of make it seem very likely. And I've seen like someone perceive me a certain way and kind of realize that they're talking to someone who is, even unconsciously, they kind of realize they're talking to someone who's a little bit neurodivergent. And I've just watched the light go out in their eyes. They just turn off. And and I used to think I fucked up the interaction somehow, right? Like it's a video game, insert quarter to try to play again. But I came to realize over the years that no, it's just, there are some people who just automatically, there's something about it. They can pick up signals and they just go, nope, I'm done. I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to get to know this person. And yeah, Collie, that can be really alienating. So know that you're not alone. And yeah, we understand.
Next up, Moxie Drapo 2391 via YouTube says, regarding the left on our... Oh, fucking hell. Oh, let me take that again.
Okay.
From Moxie. Fucking hell, fire. From Moxie Drapo 2391 on YouTube via our Building 2283 Kadena Air Force Base video. My daughter lived in a base housing in upstate New York. It used to have soldiers and airmen from the Vietnam War. Several were the scenes of suicide back then, and eventually it was turned into townhouses and rented out to the public. I went to visit my daughter, and I felt uneasy the minute I stepped in her place. Laundry was in the basement, and this was the worst place to have to go. Several times I ran down the stairs, feeling as if I was being watched from the corner behind them. The light switch was at the top of the stairs. I turned it off every trip back up, but when I would open the basement door, it was always back on. Terrified, I stood my ground and ran down anyway to switch the clothes into the dryer. I'm a pretty stubborn grandmother, so I stood at the dryer and folded the clothes. My back was to the stairs, and I still stood my ground, trying not to show fear. I stayed 1 week, and it was the longest week of my life. I asked her what was in the basement. She said that's where they partied with their friends. I was stunned. The real truth came out years later. When she moved out, her brothers had to remove the washer and dryer from the basement. Both said the atmosphere was tense and scary, and they were afraid to be down there. I asked her again after she'd moved out, and she said this. A Vietnam veteran had committed suicide in the basement, and they also had a Ouija board down there that they played with. Unexplained things began to occur in the house, and that was the reason she'd moved out. She then moved into my home with her 2 kids, and strange things began to occur in my home. I was furious. I'm a Native American, so I visited a shaman and gave an offering of tobacco. He gave me a blessed white sage and lavender, and I saged my home, saying St. Michael's prayer as I smudged every room in my house. The activity calmed down, and I now regularly smudge. This was just one incident with my daughter, though there have been several throughout the years. Tragedy seems to breed negativity. It's happened throughout time. Very scary times.
So, Moxie, thank you so much for sharing that. When we were doing video stuff, we never really got much of a response to it, and that's kind of continued. They haven't really found an audience. But that Kadena Air Force Base video, man, that people seem to find that one. I mean, what we're learning is these bases are just hotspots.
Very much so. Especially with that, it's a powder keg of emotion.
That's it, yeah. And I know even in Victoria, I remember there's a neighborhood that's base housing near Royal Roads University. It's actually connected to it via a woodland road that's gated off most of the time. And that I've never spoken to anyone who lived there, but when I first found it, I was obsessed by it. And what I've learned is if I'm obsessed by a place, there's usually something very wrong there. And that place just not spooked me out, but just I kept wanting to go back there and just kind of prowl around, which is really awesome when you're in like a secluded suburb, because, you know, people aren't aware of every single person who usually comes down their street and hyper aware that it's not you.
What you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Looking for ghosts? We're going to beat you with sticks now. That's fair. That's fair.
I'm going to beat the Holy Ghost out of you.
All right. So next up, we have a pair of comments also. Oh, sorry. We have one from YouTube and then one from Patreon. The first from YouTube is from M Powers 1895. M Powers says, just a heads up that in future, the US 988 line is itself on the firing line. As of today, it still works, but we might need to check that. And yes, M, thank you very much for mentioning that. Of course, M is referring to our mental health message that we have in every show, or in every story show, and in which we list the contact numbers for people going through mental health episodes. And yeah, unfortunately, the U.S. government has taken aim at a lot of programs like that, or threatening to take aim at programs like that. And I know they are. The Canadian government is making some of those services available cross-border, but for now, the 988 line does still work. So we're gonna leave it in there for the time being. But I think we're fast coming up on a time when we do need to re-record that message, I think.
Feeling sad? You need more Adderall. Real patriots don't cry.
That's right. Patreon.com/Adderall. Cry red, white, and blue tears.
Yeehaw.
And American listeners, we love you. We love you. Your government sucks right now. I'll say it, but we love you.
Depends where they live and who they support.
Well, okay, yeah, that's fair. I like to think our listeners are cool.
And actually, there's a couple of those strange people in our fan base.
Yeah, that's true. Well, figure it out. Fix your heart or die, as David Lynch says.
There's a great team in Virginia you should all support instead. Just saying.
It's all about the coaching. Moving on. And we also have a message on Patreon from Goblin, and Goblin says, there, it's exactly what Goblin said. Goblin said, I'm listening to older episodes, and all this makes me think is you should turn Mr. Nolan into a Fear Daily story if you haven't already. And of course, Mr. Nolan, that goes back to the very first episode we ever had Brandon on the show. I think it was, Jesus, I don't even remember. I think it was the swamp episode. I think was the first one with Brandon. And yeah, Mr. Nolan was like a family story of his that we kind of turned into a running joke for a while. And funny enough, Goblin, it has actually been turned into a Fear Daily story. There's a story called Snake in the Grass, which is about a guy who is basically, I wrote it to be me, taking advantage of a guy who is Brandon. And when the character named Brandon pushes back, the narrator kills him and hides his body in the swamp. And it turns out that Brandon was actually under a curse by Mr. Nolan the whole time, and Mr. Nolan is super pissed that I killed him and not him. So yes, Snake in the Grass. It's a Fear Daily story. We have definitely included Mr. Nolan. I'm sure Brandon will do other stuff, as I know he wanted to explore that character as well. But
you should go on a trip with Mr. Skin.
A very, very weird road trip, or a very, very boring one.
Next up, Mindy writes, Hi fellas, I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. Ever since our last election, I simply can't watch, listen or read news. Even my conservative parents have been outspoken with their disdain for that chump. 2 silver linings. We can finally discuss politics in my family and everyone is on the same side. And the other is that I've turned my attention to the paranormal and your podcast has been a big part of it. I haven't really had any paranormal experiences except my grandmother's stereo turning itself on and the volume was all the way up. But I've lost a brother and sister to addiction. I regret that I didn't have the tools to help them or to know them on a deeper level. If I'm going to have an experience, I hope I'll get to see them and talk to them. Of course, I don't want to risk inviting any bad spirits into my life. Thanks, Mindy.
Thank you for sharing that, Mindy. And honestly, dude, that's actually something I really want. I included this for a reason, because we try to stay as much as we can, out of politics on the show. But this is important because I know we've had people say, well, not all conservatives are evil. And we don't think that. We don't think that at all. You can, well, okay. Yeah, Paul. Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, some people are fiscally conservative, some people, but just because you don't necessarily agree with everything that, say a progressive platform might have, doesn't make you evil. What makes you evil is when you are uncomfortable with something. And so you start coming up with justifications for why that thing should be illegal. When you start stripping rights away from people because you don't understand how they live and you think everyone should just live the way you do. That's what makes you evil. That's fucked up. You can disagree with shit all you want. You can say, I don't agree with X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to live my life that way. That's fine, man. That's totally fine. No one fucking cares.
Yeah, I'm the same. Every time I hear a Snow Patrol song, I have to break something. That's fine. Some people like them. I'm not one of them. Sarah, every time I hear the song Chasing Cars, it makes me want to run into traffic, which is quite odd.
Who among us has not wanted to run into traffic when a certain song comes on the radio?
Yes.
Although I think we're really dating ourselves here talking about the radio. Kids, once upon a time, you didn't get to choose what song comes next.
Hey, I still listen to the radio.
Someone has to.
Keeping them alive.
I mean, I have a lot of love for radio. Obviously, I grew up listening to radio. CKCR in Revelstoke was our home station, and I've always been a night owl. And when you're a kid in Revelstoke, there's even less to do than when as an adult in Revelstoke. So I would listen to the radio at night. That was kind of my escape, and so I have this deep, abiding love for radio. But when we were putting Fear Daily together, our original idea was to make it kind of radio themed, sort of like retro radio. And I said to Brandon, we just got to accept the people we're aiming this fucking thing at don't give a rat's ass about the radio the way you and I do.
I am muted, but I was making a great point, and I'll repeat it now. Which is really odd, because right now in the country, in Britain, radio has never been more popular in its entire history.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
88% of the country listen to the radio in this day and age here.
I'm so genuinely happy to hear that, because I love the radio. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. The average radio listener in the UK listens to 20 hours a week.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mad, isn't it?
And like I said, I think it's wonderful. And because I do think there is still like cachet for being on the radio. Back when I used to have my music show on Stoke FM, it got to a point where I was debuting a lot of independent music. That's obviously for folks who don't know, that's why we do it on Talk Spooky. Because I love being able to present new and upcoming artists to an audience. And you would tell people, yeah, okay, like we're simulcast on the web, but we do actually play on the broadcast on the radio. And they would be thrilled. I know I would try and temper their expectations, Like, guys, let me just let me tell you how popular the station is in this town. I've had a show on there for a year and a half. My own mother didn't know. So, most of the audience is online. They didn't care. They loved the idea that their stuff was going out on the air.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like I said, I love radio. Long may it continue.
Yeah. I mean, we've got more stations than you can shake a stick at for such a small island.
That's wild. And didn't one of the Nordic countries completely phase out terrestrial radio?
I'm not sure.
I think one of them did. I think one of them just said, like, nope, we are radio no, basically.
I'm not sure, but yeah, it's crazy here. I mean, most of the major channels get, on average, between 6 and 10 million listeners a day.
That's madness. So apparently Norway switched off its FM radio services.
Oh, well,
so they
should.
They switched to something called DAB+, which I have to admit I've never heard of.
I've got a DAB.
Oh, okay, DAB. Oh, so is that like a radio?
Digital audio. It's basically digital radio.
Oh, interesting.
So you're not using FM, medium wave, light wave. It's digital. The signal is digital. So it works on exactly the same principle as a radio, but obviously you've got crystal clear sound and far more channels than you would do on a conventional FM medium wave setup.
Oh, that's the coolest shit.
Yeah, I've had a DAB radio for nearly 20 years.
Huh. I'd never heard of this. That is, again, I'm thrilled to know the radio is alive and well. I think that's fantastic.
I find that crazy. I just presumed it was the same everywhere.
No, Jesus, radio's dying over here. It's
because they need to get on DAB. Get on DAB. It's the future.
Well, I think it doesn't help that I think all the radio stations are owned by like 2 companies.
Well, I mean, we've got a lot of commercial stations. The BBC have far too many. If you want to hear about somebody's allotment in Sheffield, you can listen to that interesting conversation on BBC Sheffield if you wish. Or perhaps you want to hear about somebody from Nottingham who likes to wrestle geese. You can listen to that on BBC Nottingham. And that's the same for near enough every county in Britain. They've all got a BBC channel.
Oh man, no, a lot of that went away here. I would say with a lot of this consolidation. Funny enough, that podcast network that you love so much because of their very, very light ad placement, they own most of those stations.
Adverts every 3 seconds. Fuck off.
For about 4.5 minutes.
Then the ghost, do you like podcasting? Blah, 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 blah. Walked into the room. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. It's essentially what it's like. It's like, oh. So, yeah. No, it's crazy, that. And I just presumed it was the same. So, I can listen to sport, or we've got like a 70 station, a 60 station, 80 station, 90 stations, naughty. There's even a 10 station now for anybody who's missing something that finished 6 years ago.
Yeah, just in case it was in a radio station not already playing Katy Perry's Roar.
Yeah. Classical music, talk radio, sport radio.
I mean, we've got a lot of that here, but it's mostly like automatic. So it's like satellite radio.
Yeah.
Where there's no personality. It's just music. So we have Sirius satellite radio here, which might be similar to what you're talking about. So you can get anything you want, but mostly it's just the same playlist every couple days, and there's no DJ.
Yeah. See, we've never gone that far. We still have knobheads talking over music.
Hey man, once upon a time, that's what I wanted to do for work. And then I found out that in Canada, that's not a real job anymore.
I find it infuriating, especially when it's a song you like, and there's some muppet talking about some wanker in Surrey's dinner. Shut up!
I could have been that wanker, Paul. I could have been a contender.
Who cares what Brian in Maidstone's having for his tea? Fuck off.
I tell you, man, my most popular tweet of all time was a photo of a Costco hot dog. So there's someone out there who is just waiting for that broadcast. Again, I could have been that knobhead. I could have been, hey, Paul, I'm interrupting your favorite pop song to tell you about someone's toilet paper sale. Toilet paper sale, 20% off. Fuck you, Paul Bessel. The song's over now. Here's Katy Perry's Roar.
Yeah, it's not on any station I listen to, thankful.
I'm on all of them now, Paul. I'm in your dreams. Here's Katy Perry's Roar.
If it's not Planet Rock or Absolute 80s, I'm not listening to musical radio. Thank you very much.
Break into all of them. I'll Ocean's 11 my way into every single one of your radio stations and interrupt your songs with hyper local sales at grocery stores.
Oh, we get that. We get a lot of checkertrade.com.
Okay, yeah.
If you want a verified workman to do stuff at your house, you should always use checkertrade.com.
We're just giving away advertising for free on this show.
That's how generous we are, mate.
And now Katy Perry's Roar.
Makes a change from the continual bombardment of gambling adverts we have here in this country as well.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem over here too. We turned down a campaign recently, as you know, from one of those betting apps because their practices are extraordinarily predatory. And I like gambling as much as the next guy. I like.
Did it begin with an S?
No. This one started with a D.
We've had a gambling company banned here in the UK for their blatant disregard of the law here.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, because apparently doing trying to arrange a gangbang with a porn star as part of your ad campaign for a gambling site, apparently they didn't think was anything illegal with that in the UK.
Okay. Well, those are words I never thought I'd hear said on this show.
Well, I never thought I'd have to live in a country where we had to tell somebody that wasn't right.
And now Katy Perry's Roar. Speaking of just before we move on to the next thing, speaking of guessing at things, we had a listener comment on a YouTube episode saying that, because we were talking about, I can't remember, we were talking about Canadian hockey players, and they said that I had the father of a famous Canadian hockey player come into the place where I worked, and they were an absolute piece of shit to everyone who worked there. They didn't say who it was, so I thought, okay, so I have to, I won't directly ask. But I said, does this particular famous father have the same initials as his son?
Are they WG?
This person didn't say that, but unless there is another famous hockey father out there who has the same initials as his son, I would be very surprised that this is not the person. And coincidentally, one of our longtime listeners, who I won't name, she worked at an event where this famous son was, and he was also a giant dick. So it just runs in the family.
Yeah, that's my knowledge of Canadian hockey for you in one conversation. There you are.
Oh, I'm trying desperately to think of two other names that start with WG. Dying on the vine here.
Willie Grace.
There we go. Willie Grace. All right, so we should probably that went off. That was a long tangent. That was a record long tangent.
Woo!
Whose turn is it? I completely forgot. Okay. Jesus, how did we get onto radio from that? Next up, we have a message from Sam R. Sam says, "Hi, I missed episode 208, and I'm just now getting to it. As an American with a trans and non-binary sibling, thank you. Things are scary. We're lucky to have gotten to move to New York State from the Southeast for some semblance of safety, and I appreciate you taking the time to say something." And Sam, yeah, again, that's it's rough times right now. So best of luck to you and your family. Stay safe as best you can. It's going to be a rough road for the next little while, because the problem is that in addition to just the legislative side of things, all of this being in the news has emboldened a lot of really terrible people who just have been waiting for an excuse or an opportunity to enact their worst possible selves. So stay safe, and again, we're on your side.
Mary writes, "I wanted to let you guys know that Lewis, Delaware, is pronounced Lewis, not lose. Well, it's not our fault, can't pronounce it right. I grew up in Maryland, and we always went past
Delaware
signs."
to spell their shit better.
Hey, you stole the name from us, at least use it properly. "And we always went past signs for the Lewis and Cape May ferry on our route to Ocean City, Maryland for summer vacation. I finally got round to taking the ferry with my sisters to Cape May a couple of years ago. It was a nice little day trip from Ocean City. I love listening to your podcast, not just for the ghost stories, but just to hear how folks outside the US are seeing the world, including their opinions on what's happening here in the US, and to hear how you pronounce things. And it's not just about place names, like lose, which can be a real bear, because although we speak the same language, there are so many pronunciation shifts from one locale to another. For example, when Paul says preface, there's nothing wrong with how he says it. I just say it differently, preface. And of course, it's always delightful when Brennan dips into his Canadian accent. He usually sounds like an American, but with much better diction than your typical American, myself included."
It's funny. I put up for patrons a couple weeks back. I found my very first, or not very first, my second ever live interview. It was on Midnight in the Desert.
Mm-hmm.
And I sound so different because it was 2016. So there was no Ghost Story guys yet. It was just me talking about Strange. And Strange hadn't even come out yet. And I sound so much very different, like much more cautious and much more sober. And now, as I say, my Canadianness comes out much more. When I was recording that audiobook for Ruth, I had to go back and re-record a bunch of little inserts because we wanted to Americanize the pronunciation as much as possible. And I would hear myself going, "hoose." And I have to fuck. Yeah, exactly. I'd have to flag it, go
There was a
out.
goose about the hoose. Right, you're on Oak Island.
Route 109. Fuck no, gotta record that. Route.
Have you seen that meme that does the rounds occasionally? You might not see it because it's obviously a very Yorkshire one. So it was somebody commenting on a tweet somebody had said, and the tweet says, "Are you in love?" Right? And so in Yorkshire, somebody said, "I thought this meant am I at home?" Because
right, yeah.
You can say, "Are you in love?" But here in Yorkshire, if somebody says, "Are you in love?" it means, "Are you in house?" Are you in, love?
That would be my assumption, yeah.
Are you in, love? So it's all, it's just how we do these things sometimes. So it makes me chuckle every time I see that, because that's one of the most Yorkshire. Like here in Sheffield and South Yorkshire, we say love. You all right, love? Don't matter if you're a man or a woman. All right, love. And then literally 10 miles down the road in Chesterfield, it's duck. You all right, duck? All right, duck.
Oh, interesting.
So you can tell when they're from over at border, because they use the word duck, and we know to watch them very carefully. So not be used to electricity and things.
All right, we have one more message for this show.
No!
I know, the time has flown by. That message is from Janice. Janice says, "Oh my God, y'all, I have not laughed so hard as I did during the Delaware episode. Y'all found some real gems, but all this badness has inspired some good, I think. Hear me out. I propose that you embrace this. I say once a month or however often, you dedicate a show to the worst and most outlandish ghost stories you can find. I'm always up for a good laugh, and I think you guys would be brilliant at ripping these apart. Phantom cars, deadly urine puddles, fat clock-eating kids, and of course going to war at the gym. Thanks for the laughs. Keep it spooky. Jitties."
We could just read a well-known local author who's published lots of books about hauntings in Liverpool, because most of them are made up shit.
I did kind of consider that. I thought about it, and I was like, it might be a little too obvious.
There's another one in Norfolk. I've forgotten his name. Most of the ghost stories he tells that get repeated quite a lot about Norfolk are all made up.
Really?
I've forgotten his name. He's so inconsequential. But it's one of them that the stories aren't real. He just used them to pad out a badly written book about Norfolk's ghosts.
There's so much of that, man. There's so much. I've actually started collecting some shittier ones that might be useful to do like a worst of show. But
Worst
yeah,
of.
I mean, the worst of, yeah. Worst of the ghost story, guys.
Oh, I've got books full here. Books full of
perfect.
shit stories.
All right, so
Hundreds of them.
we might start doing some worst of shows, because I really like that. I really like bagging on things. I'm a real bitch in heart. But of course, most people, we have cool people who send us stories, and I don't want to shit on those. But if we have really bad stories that come from people we don't care about, I am more than happy to shit on those from a great height.
Absolutely. But I'd just like to say as well, before we go, I'd like to thank everybody at Airy Fairy who came for my talk the other day. We had a great laugh.
Right, of course. That went well.
Yeah, because I thought I needed something else to do this week.
It's the best way.
Been in the office twice. I've watched 2 miniseries about serial killers. It's Eurovision, it's football, and I thought I'd give a talk. Why not?
Why not? What was the talk about?
I did Poltergeists.
Ah, fabulous.
Which was very odd.
How so?
Because when the talk finished, the owner of the shop mentioned something to me. And so I may be helping someone out with a haunting.
Oh, shit. All right. Oh, I'm very excited.
But we will see. And it's 10 minutes away from where I live.
Fantastic. Watch this space, folks.
So, yes, other than that, it was grand. Really good. Lovely. Very nice to be invited back. Had a great fun. Free beverages. It's always nice. And, yeah, it was very interesting. So I talked about Runcorn. Some of the sceptical dismissals that ignore certain aspects of cases just so they can deal with the one they can explain. The Doris Bythers case, the San Pedro case, touched a bit on Enfield and Pontefract a bit. So yeah, it was good. Bit of a wide-ranging cover, but like I say, it was 2 parts. So the first part was mostly about Runcorn, and then the second part was about other strange cases and some of my favourite cases. And then the last 10-15 minutes we had a chat, and 2 or 3 of the people there shared some stories with me of their personal experiences, which was interesting, because I don't think any of them were going to share them at the beginning of the talk, and they couldn't stop themselves at the end.
You are very approachable.
I like to think so. Somebody did ask me as well because I said something very dismissive about the Warrens, and so during the interval they asked me about why I don't like the Warrens. So I had to be very choose my words very carefully, as she was there with her 15-year-old daughter. So I just said, well, enjoy the films and for what they are, works of fiction.
He's a fucking sex pest, isn't he, love?
He's a nonce. No, so yeah, it was really good.
Fucking amen. Well, very cool. I'm excited. As I always say, we're on the Paul Bestel come up, and I'm always excited to see what comes next.
Yes. So yeah, and obviously I've been getting loads of research documents. You know, I've got 10 days off for writing coming up. So.
Oh, really? I was wondering what was happening with that. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Discovered a whole treasure trove of reports and things to pad out what I've done so far. So.
Amazing.
Let's hope so.
All right, folks. Well, that has been our Talk Spooky to Me. Of course, we love hearing from you guys. Thank you for your comments, your questions, your YouTube comments, your Spotify comments, your emails. We love them all. Keep them coming. Send us more. We love hearing from you guys. And as we've had a few people recently reach out with some stories that they've asked us not to share on the show, thank you for that. And that is always an option. You can always tell us, I want to share this with you, but I would prefer that you not share it, and we will honor that 1,000%. So thank you to everyone who's done that. And Paul, just before we give all our contact details, this is our 2-year anniversary for Talk Spooky. This is our 52nd episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Happy birthday, you.
Happy birthday, my friend. And where can everyone find you online?
You can find Mysteries and Monsters across all social media platforms. Well, not all of them. Most of them. The ones that matter. And all good podcast sites. And probably some bad ones as well.
I'm Largely the Truth on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. And you'll find my horror fiction show, Fear Daily, everywhere fine podcasts live. And of course, we'd like to end Talk Spooky with a song. This time around, we're featuring a returning guest. That is The Origin from Victoria, BC. We first featured The Origin way back on Talk Spooky 35, Hell Like a Hole. This time around, we're going to play you their latest single, I Gotta Get Out of Here, released on March 1st of this year. If you like what you hear, find more from The Origin by heading to theoriginmusic.bandcamp.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. Thanks, as always, for listening, folks. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate you. We will see you next week for episode 215. But until then, we will leave you with The Origin, and I Gotta Get Out of Here.
I'm on the West Coast, not that it matters. Walking a tightrope, trusting the process. Man of the people, walking with purpose.